Hello, everybody. It's Friday. Well, let me close the blinds. I'll be right back. Get a little, get a little too much light coming in. Hi, Joan. Hi, Rhonda. Joan, thank you for the beautiful Christmas card you and Paul sent. As always, it's beautiful, amazing. Have no idea how you do those. No idea. I can't even imagine how much time that takes you. But I feel so honored that you continue to send them to me when I very seldom ever respond in kind. But thank you so much, Joan. Hi, Connie. Good to see you guys. Welcome, welcome. It's Friday. It is. Hi, Barbara Clark. Okay. Oh, I did. I did receive it. It was beautiful. It is, as always, stunning. I showed it Monday night. It's Friday, you guys. It's Friday. And hopefully it will be drama-free. And this is the last Friday I'm going to be, or the last time I'm going to be streaming until sometime in January. So I will be back, but I'm not exactly sure when. There's a lot going on in January. I think there will be a lot happening in January with trying to get things sorted out between houses. Hi, Leah. Trying to get things sorted out between houses and move the studio and all of that. It's gonna be an adventure. So I will not be back after today for a while. I don't know exactly how long, but hopefully not too long. I may pop back in now and then for an update. It just kind of depends on where my stuff is. Where are the cameras? Or maybe I'll pop back on my phone. Who knows? So welcome. I know we probably still have sound issues. For that, I apologize. That will get sorted out when Race gets back here, but that's not going to be for a while yet. It will get sorted out. I know it's annoying. I think sound issues are worse than video issues personally, but there's nothing I can do about it. So, yeah, I don't envy me either, Joan. I don't. I have a really neat article to read you from a paper. I'm going to read it at the end of the stream. So if you can hang in there with me, or I'll read it toward the end of the stream. Until then, what we're going to do is we are going to work on this little December journal. Anyway, so we're just going to get right to it. So here is what we've been working on. This is a little journal that actually was started as a journal. It was a journal that was like a ledger, a ledger type thing. I took all the pages out of it. Rather than recycle the pages that were in it, I decided to just get rid of that and make my own little book. So those of you who haven't been hanging around, that's how this started out. It's an old small ledger book that was totally used up, and I kept it. I didn't use it, but I kept it, and so it is. I covered it in fabric. This is a recycled ribbon that came off some boxes of candy that we gave as gifts, and it works really well for keeping the journal closed, as well as it's pretty. So this, we'll just go through it real quickly because I have done some things in it since I last saw you. Not a lot, but a few things. Haven't had a ton of time to work on it, actually. I spend a lot of time going between houses. I surely do. Anyway, this is from a little ornament that I did. I showed you those several weeks ago. This is just done on craft paper. It's a little ornament that I drew and then made copies of it on different kinds of paper or different kinds of cardstocks to make like tags for packages. And this is all fabric, and it's all stuff I had. So, you know, it's like nothing new here to see. It's just covered in fabric. Also covered in fabric inside, fabric that I just tore, and everything was glued together with, I don't know, it seemed like I used tacky glue. It could have been glue stick. I don't remember, honestly. Anyway, these are, I've added a little bit as I just sort of have time and desire to doodle along. This is cardstock, or this was actually a card. Let's see. These were some cards that I jelly plate printed. Trying to get a hold of them here. So these were some cards that I jelly plate printed like this. And then I just cut them apart. I just cut them apart and used pieces and parts on here, because why not? Like this, these came from this one. That's where those came from. And so I just cut them out. This was actually on the card. This whole thing was on the card. I cut the whole thing out, added some stars, did some doodling, added the word Christmas 2024. And I just doodled on it. So these were white stars that I doodled on here, drew on there, outlined them, and then after they were, or I guess they were actually gold stars. I think I actually put gold stars on there. Then I came back and just doodled some white and gold dots on top of it, just so they'd show up a little bit more. Added a few more little doodles on here, you know, just different, just doodly do things. Added some light rays around the stars. This is just bits of collage glued together from an old calendar. Same thing. It was a calendar that was a gnome, based on gnomes. And so I used that a lot throughout here because the paper in the calendar was terrible. Hey, Terry. Oh, thanks, Leah. This is this little Christmas tree that was, the pattern came from an old cookie cutter. So I just drew around the cookie cutter and just sort of followed the garland lines in there loosely. Added some Christmas lights, and I see I forgot one highlight on my little Christmas light. We'll just stick it in there while we're here. That's one of the things that when you go through a journal that you've been working on, there's always things that you see that need to be sort of spiffed up a little bit. And this thin paper is where I'll write later. This I haven't done anything to. This was just a photograph of one of my mandalas. I will embellish that. You'll see what I've done on a couple of pages later. This is napkin. This was from the calendar. These were old stars that I found. When I was helping Elton clean out some stuff at his house, I found these. It was a brand new package of stars, gum label stars, the foil ones. And so I just started using them. They were still very sticky. Again, all of these little bits. Some of these were images that I cut straight out of the calendar pages, and some were things that I, assembled. Hey, Dorothy. Okay, this was another cookie cutter. I think I already put it away. It was a bird cookie cutter. So I watercolored it, and then I went back and just doodled it. So sort of a folk art kind of style. And then the stuff at the bottom is the trash from the foiled stars. So it's just where I took, it's what remained after I took the stars out of it. And same thing here. This is the trash from the stars. Here I've just added a little bit of embellishment around that. This is a mandala I cut out. It was a photograph of one of my mandalas. I cut it out, taped it on here with like score tape, and then I went back and just did some doodles around it. Very few doodles, but just enough to kind of, you know, make it belong to this page. And the idea was kind of make these to go together. I still want plenty of room to add photographs and that kind of stuff and journaling, but this is just loosely sketched. This was based on a cookie cutter I had. And let's see. We're gonna paint these berries here in a minute with this Lumiere paint, just because I don't like this. So I'm gonna put some paint over that. This is just a little sketch based on this little ornament that I made. So it's made, it's just a little ornament that I made using handmade twining. It's fabric that I twined together. So it's just a loose sketch for that with the bell at the bottom. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it yet, but I'll do something. Here's a little Santa Claus that I drew, one of those little star-shaped Santas. Most of these are based on something else I looked at, with some sketchy little stars that are put in with graphite and then silver pen on top of it. The Santa Claus is just a little star shape. It was based on something I saw someplace, and I just sort of sketched it a little bit and then just watercolored it and then embellished it with pins. Hello, Kel. Good to see you. All right, moving on. Some of these don't have anything. So these are just little ornaments that I drew using a circle template. So this is what I used in the different sizes. So there's 3 different sizes, and then I added just little toppers. They look messy because I have erased a lot of the graphite just so it would be easier to go over. And then this is just watercolor. I am no watercolorist, believe me, so just dropping in color and just waiting to see what it did. So I did that last night, so they're good and dry. So we'll do something on them. This was from a loaf of banana bread somebody gave us, and the kids wrote the name in upside down, which I thought was really cute, so I put it right in here with these trees, which came from a napkin. This is more collage. This was added. This was actually part of this little gnome figure, and then I added this little bird in front of him. These are napkins, and then more of those stars, gummed stars. This is all collage from that calendar. These pieces I added. All the rest of this was one piece. A little tricky to stick in here, one piece that big, but it went down pretty well. Same thing, calendar bits. Okay, this is another one of my mandalas, which I cut out of the background. It's a photograph of one of the mandalas. Cut it out of the background, stuck it down here with tape. It has a flat side on it on the photograph. And so I put it specifically down here at the bottom because it had a flat spot, and then just embellished a little bit around it. This is a bird that is directly influenced, you could say, or influenced, heavily influenced by Karen Elaine's birds that she showed on Instagram. I just took a screenshot of her birds and then I drew this one just based on looking at what she did. So if it looks familiar, if you follow Karen Elaine, that's why, because I took it directly from inspiration from her. This is a combination of images from that calendar. Same thing here. And let's see. This is a cookie cutter. Not sure I have it. Here it is. So that's a cookie cutter, and I just laid it down and then just started drawing bells around it. So I probably will just doodle. We may just watercolor inside them and then I'll doodle in them later. This was 2 pieces from that calendar, so I put them together. It actually looks like this bird came that way, standing on that mushroom, but he did not. Oh, thanks, Leah. And this was also in that calendar. This was all one image, and I just put a star on his hat. And that's it, other than putting this little cardinal that came from that calendar and just a little star in his beak. So I'll connect that to his beak somehow. So anyway, there we go. So how about if we let's start here. And let's watercolor these bells just so they have a chance to dry. I have not done a December journal since 2012. This was the last time, the one and only time that I did a Christmas journal. This was actually in a class, and the class was Christmas Chronicles. And so I did this in that class, and it was an interesting class. It made me really take a look back at a lot of things, a lot of Christmases and a lot of Christmas memories and so forth. And December can be a tough month. Believe me, I know. December can be a tough month. And it can be a tough month. I don't know. We put so much emphasis on the month of December, many of us. And sometimes it's a lot of fun. And sometimes it's not a lot of fun. And going back through the years, it is interesting, I find, doing something like that Christmas Chronicles class. I found it interesting, the amount of reflection I did. Some of it's so good and some of it's so much fun. And fortunately, that was way before Clausman got descended down the path of dementia. And so we had, with all the Santa Clauses and things that we did, that he carved and I painted and that kind of thing, we had a lot of really, really, really good years. But it's interesting when you go back and start reflecting on things like that. Anyway, enough of that. I do have, as I said earlier, I have a really nice, very thought-provoking article that I'm going to share with you in a little while, toward the end of the stream. This will be the last stream for this year and until sometime in January. I don't really know when in January I'll be back, but I will at some point. It could even be into February. I just don't know. Because of trying to get finalized with moving and that kind of stuff. So I appreciate all of your patience with as we make changes and go forward and all of that. So, okay. So if you want to hang with me, I will be sharing that article with you in a little bit. It's very thought-provoking. It has some very sweet moments also. Okay, so I've wet one of these bells. And I'm just gonna, these are the world's Not quite the world's cheapest watercolors, but probably close to it. And so we're just going to I'm just going to fill in. I have erased out or lightened, probably is a better word, lightened the graphite lines where I had drawn around, because I literally drew around the cookie cutter. And just kind of layered them up. And so I dampened this paper, which I think is watercolor paper. Could be mixed media paper. I don't remember. Anyway, I did, whatever it is, should take the water okay. But none of the papers used in this are, I know the black is mixed media paper. Canson mixed media paper. I can't remember what this one is for sure. Too much water under the bridge, as they say. Okay, I need a paper towel here. I'm going to skip, maybe not. You know what? We're just going to let them do what they do. That's what we're going to do. If you want the bells, or you want the images to maintain the color, you know, and the integrity of the color and not bleed into each other, then you don't want to paint images that are touching each other, especially when I'm dampening them first. And you know what? We're just going to live dangerously and go, whatever happens, happens. All right, so the next one, I will use something that the color shouldn't be too bad when it does bleed with that purple one. So we'll try that and we'll see how it goes. If you use colors that don't work well together, that's when you kind of get in trouble. But this, as I said, this is just cheap. These are cheap paints. These are the Lowell Cornell paints I bought years ago. I bought another set of them, or something similar. I don't think it was exactly the same brand, and they just come from the craft store. Kind of, they're not in the kids section, but they might as well be in the kids section because they're very chalky. And I do have nice watercolors, but you know what? There's a part of me that feels like I really shouldn't use good watercolors since I don't really know what I'm doing. And there is a pretty hefty learning curve, I find, with using watercolor. And so I tend to reach back and just either pick these up or the praying set that I have. For a long time I felt really bad that that's what I was doing. And then one day somebody that was a friend of mine who was a really nice, really good watercolorist said that she liked to use sorry about the throat. She liked to use the praying watercolors too. And I thought, really? And that she often used those with teaching her grandchildren. And I thought, okay, well, good enough for me. That is definitely good enough for me. So I'm just intending here to just sort of block in these little bells and then let them dry, and then we'll see what happens. But I may, just for grins and giggles, add a little bit more color here and there. And I actually do kind of like it when the colors bleed into each other and you get some interesting things going on. So on this red one, or this pink one, we might, I don't know, maybe we'll add a little bit of this goofy kind of bluish color here. I don't know what color that is. Like I said, these are very chalky. Super chalky colors. And then I just kind of dab around with the color. And then we'll just see what happens. Who knows? Okay. So we got a purple one, sort of purple going on. And then we got this pink one going on. Seems like I want to put a little bit more. And this is probably living way too dangerously for words. But I just would like to have a little bit more color in this one. It's like the color to move around a little bit more. It just kind of is. And you know, there's a point where you can't go any further with watercolor. You got to like stop. Acrylic paint's like that too. You got to stop and don't push it. you know what I do? I go to the point where I know I should stop, and then I know I should stop, and then I push it. I push it anyway, and then I go, should have stopped. Hello, Sharon. Good to see you. Okay, let's go to, let's add some water to this one. And as I said, in case you came in a little bit late, all I did with this was use a cookie cutter, which was this. They were old cookie cutters that I had, and I saved those and used them for, usually I don't make cookies with them. I usually use them for patterns for other things. And that's what I've done here. So let's go to, how about if we go to this like gold. And you really shouldn't mix your paint over your artwork. But you know what? We have all kinds of things we're going to do to these eventually, or that I'm going to do to them eventually. So does it really matter? No, not really. It's just, this is just a little kind of a fun experiment in how many different things I could cram into this little book. And also it's given me a total diversion from some of the stuff that still rattles around in my head around this time of year. It's funny how we assign significance to dates and months and times of the year. It's not the time of the year, it's the significance or the memories that we attach to it. And that's usually what gets us. Usually what gets us is the significance that we attach to it. Okay, I'm going to use just a little bit of this brown. Hey, Signa. And anybody that I missed coming in, thank you for being here with us. So this is a little bit of this color, kind of a burnt sienna kind of color. And I'm just kind of letting these colors just do their own thing, whatever it is they want to do. And we'll see what happens. They're not blending together as much as I expected that they would, so that's kind of interesting. Okay, let's go to the next one. Like I said, this is Living Dangerously. Painting these so close to each other where they're not dry, but you know, so far they're working they're working better, much better than I expected. Much better. Okay. Let's see, what color bell should we do on this one? Maybe we'll do this color. Whatever that is. Hello, Linda. Good to see you. And Tim. I hope Tim is having a great day today. So I am just holding this little palette in my hand like this and just painting out of it and just kind of mixing colors in the lid. I do like, one of the things I like about this particular palette, cheap as it is that it has nice big places for you to kind of wet the paints. The other palette that I got that's kind of the updated version of this has little cup type wells, and it's like you have to have something else. You really have to have some place else to mix your paint, because those little wells are they're really small. Now maybe somebody who is a more experienced watercolor person than I am, maybe they wouldn't have trouble with that, but for me it's kind of a troublesome, gives me trouble. I think watercolor, you guys let me know, but watercolor I think is something you either love it or you really struggle with it. I find it such a struggle a lot of the time that when I'm playing around with it, I just have to shut the palette up and go away, because sometimes it's like, but you know, I was like that with acrylic when I first started, because oil paint was where I started, and oil paint was what I got used to, very used to, and acrylic was new, you know, for the, I guess you'd say, the fine art and craft world. Acrylic paint was new when I was painting with oils, and it was so frustrating to me, the acrylic paint was. And some of the oil painters who were teaching more of a craft kind of what should we say, craft approach to painting. A lot of them were beginning to combine acrylic and oil when I had been painting for a while, and they were beginning to combine acrylic and oil. Like they were doing acrylic under paintings and then coming back over the top with oils and or something, or maybe maybe it was the other way, I don't know about over lean. Maybe they were doing the acrylic first, the acrylic base coats. That's probably what they were doing. It's been a while since I've even thought about it. And then coming back with the oil glazes over the top. I don't know. I think that must have been what they were doing now that I think about it. Man, oh man, that was so frustrating for me. I just could not. I just couldn't get it. I could not get it. I just struggled with that mightily. And then what really made me learn more about acrylic paint was when Clausman really got into doing the carvings, and he could not paint at all. That wasn't his thing. And so for his carvings to be finished, that was something that I needed to do. And at first I was painting them in oil. Well, I'm going to tell you something. You try and paint in oil a three-dimensional object, yeah, it was extremely frustrating. Did you find it frustrating too, Sharon? Hi, Mary. Good to see you. Did you find it frustrating when you were, or did you go to acrylic? Did you switch to acrylic, Sharon? Some people don't, some people make the switch. But when I finally realized that, first of all, I was going to have to learn to do acrylic because it was the only way that I could paint a three-dimensional carving with any degree of efficiency. And so I knew I had to learn how to do that, but I wanted it to have the look of oil. And so that was one of those things where I really struggled. And it took me a long time to learn how to do that. I finally got it, though, by doing base coats and then coming back. And I finally learned how to float the shading, side load brushes and float shading and stuff over it, and then when I finally figured out how to do that, and nobody showed me how to do that, that was one of those things that I'm like, I got to figure this out, because if I don't figure this out, there isn't anybody that's gonna, there wasn't anybody doing it in a way. I'm going to paint this last bell green. There wasn't anybody doing it in a way that that worked for the effect that I wanted. Maybe we'll add some of this into it. So I had to learn how to do it, and it was just a process of trial and error. And one day I finally got the effect I was after, and I'm like, okay, now if I can do this consistently, then I'm onto something. And so, it took me, I can't even tell you how many years it took me to get to a point where I felt like I could actually be okay with the acrylic painting. Now, do I do well with acrylic painting, like painting a landscape or that kind of stuff? I really don't, because I learned to paint with craft paints on the Santa Claus, the wood carvings. Well, the the craft acrylics in the little jars, little 2-ounce jar or 2-ounce bottles, those are so radically different than the tube acrylics. And I have bought sets of or accumulated colors and palettes of tube acrylic paints. And I tell you what, that's another huge learning curve. And I never have felt super comfortable with the tube acrylics. And I should be. I should be, because they are a better grade of acrylic paint. But, we all have our things. We all have our things. Okay, let's see if we can add a little more something into this green bell. I think I'm just going to use this green, whatever this is. Put a little brown in it to kind of tone it a little bit. So anyway, that is my journey with different mediums, and if I would go take some classes or, take some classes online or something, I do better in person. I don't know. Now, I do online workshops and stuff, take some of those, and they're very helpful. But boy, there are times when it's just like, man, if I could just sit down with, the teacher and actually watch in person, watch how she moves her hands and how she mixes the colors and stuff. I learned so much better that way. Yeah, you painted acrylic for company who made figurines. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Do you like the watercolor now that you've moved into watercolor, Sharon? 24, no sun in the hard winter months. Oh, Signa, I don't know how you do it. And then the summer months are 24. I don't know how you do that. Wow. That is extreme. That is definitely extreme, for sure. Whew. Yeah, I don't know how you do that. Add a little bit more. I want a little bit. A little bit difference. There's just this quality that watercolor has of doing its own thing. And it is so hard for me to just let it do that. It's so hard for me to do that. I want to control it. It is an uncontrollable. And I find it unforgiving medium, personally. You love watercolor? Wow. All right, so let's just give these bells a shot of heat, so maybe they won't smear when I turn the page. Maybe they won't just do too much weirdness. I think that little stack of bells could be cute. What watercolor? Do you use a specific brand of watercolor, Sharon? Or do you use different brands? I know a lot of people sort of combine, build their sets of their favorites. They find their favorites. I think that's probably why I keep going back to the cheap stuff, because I like it. You know. Okay. So we just about got this dry enough. I can put some wax paper in here. You painted mostly flowers and watercolor. Yeah. I know I probably shouldn't be using a heat gun with watercolor, but you know what? That's what I got. I have a hair dryer, but it's not in here with me. So I just keep moving the water, or use Daniel Smith. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people really like the Daniel Smith. I have never tried any of their paints. One time I went into a store, an art store. I was in California with my son. I went into an art store. I don't remember what it was, but it was like one of those kind of a Dick Blick sort of, or Jerry's Artorama or whatever, one of those, eye candy stores for somebody like us. I went in and here was this whole wall of Daniel Smith watercolors. And I thought, wow. And then I started seeing the prices of the various, different colors and stuff. I'm like, whew, you could get into some serious money here real quick. You like the different brands. Yeah, and that's one of those. It was, Terry, Toy Store for Artists. Man, it was. Whew, drool. Okay, well, I'm going to put a piece of watercolor or wax paper in here, because maybe that will help in case it decides to spread to the facing page. I think it's dry enough. I don't think it will, but you never know. Okay, I'm going to come back to, I will do a couple things. One of the things I want to do is, and you think I would know as many times as I've gone through this little book, I want to come back to the holly leaves, the scribbly holly leaves. Here they are on black. And I want to paint these holly berries because they can't get any worse than they are. They absolutely cannot get any worse than they are. So I'm going to use this crimson, Lumiere crimson. Yeah, I like the Inktense colors too, Barbara. Sure do. Well, that pot of paint is about toast. All right, I'm just going to use a cheap little brush, and I'm just going to use a piece of paper as my palette here. So I'm using a different brush. I'm just going to paint out of the lid. And I'm just going to do this. And all I want to do here is just paint over this. I tried on these little berries to make them scribbly like the leaves. I like the scribbly nature of the leaves. But I will tell you, the scribbly nature of the berries didn't do it for me. So I'm like, so I just needed to go over these with a coat of something. I don't mind having the scribbly paint or the scribbly stuff under it. I don't mind at all. And I'm just using this paper as a palette. So I don't mind having the scribbly marks of the pens underneath. In fact, I think I'm going to like that a lot. But boy, when I backed up and looked at that after I'd scribbled all over the top of those berries, I'm like, no, that is definitely not working for me. We're gonna have to come back and add something over the top of those. So thank you for indulging me while every once in a while you get something where you go, nope, can't stand that. And this was one of those things. And even though it's in a little journal, every once in a while you go, it doesn't matter that it's in a journal. It just doesn't matter. Doesn't matter it's in a journal. It's got to be something that I can tolerate, Hello, Carol. All right, so that's all that I needed for that. That's all I needed for those little berries, and then I'll add stuff to them later, but they had to have something. They had to have something. That was not working for me. So let me just dry those a little bit. And this paint it's called Crimson. It's Lumiere by Jacquard. It's actually a fabric paint. But I really like it, and it does have a metallic quality, sheen to it, which is good for me. I mean, Christmas, shiny, as long as I don't have to get out glitter, I'm good. Glitter is not my thing. Okay, that's good. All right, let's go back to the bird. We need to go back to the bird. Where's the bird? Somewhere I sketched out the bird. I should remember, since I'm the one that sketched it just a few minutes ago. Here it is. Okay. And as I said, this is absolutely influenced by Karen Elaine. If you don't follow her, you should on Instagram and so forth. Elton Faye, you're a mess. Okay, what color do you think we should paint said bird? I think maybe blue. Should we do blue? I think we'll do blue. Let's go for a blue. And again, I'm just going to add some water. I'm going to paint the body first. Let's go to this brush, and we're going to use this blue right here and whatever's on this palette. So we're going to use this and this. And just put in some blue, and then we're just going to see what this little bird does. Karen Elaine does, when I first started watching her, she was on the Carol Duvall show, and she went by the name Karen Thomas, and online now she goes by Karen Elaine. And she did a lot of things with the Yasutomo origami type things is what she primarily did back then, and did some things with paper, like paper, what were they? Paper coil, paper, it was like paper rope kind of things. And she could make that stuff look so easy. She does the same thing with the watercolor things that she does now. They look so easy when she does it. I'm like, nope. And when I saw this series of birds she did with Santa hats on, I saw it on Instagram and I thought, oh yeah, whoops. This is what happens. This is what happens when you use cheap brushes. Yeah, this is what happens when you use cheap brushes and the glue turns loose. Okay. Usually if Elton pops in, it's a drive-by comment. Then he moves on. He's often a drive-by commenter. Okay, so we're going to do this little bird like this. And I can go ahead and put his little hat in. I don't even let these brushes sit in water and they still fall apart. That's how cheap they are. That is how cheap they are. Living dangerously here, living dangerously. Getting close to the watercolor. If I had a needed eraser close by, it would be better. But I don't. Okay, good enough. Hi, Catherine. YouTube is streaming snippets of Carol's show. Oh, that's neat. That's neat. Okay, let's give this little hat, because it's away from the blue bird. We'll put some water up here. And this red is not super red, but it's, you know, we'll make it work. Red enough, right? Yeah, the Carol Duvall show was the first place that I ever saw Tim Holtz, too. So I don't know if I finished my thought. I saw these little birds that Karen Elaine did. She showed them on, showed her finished ones on Instagram, and I thought, well, those are just too stinking cute for words, and so I did just decided. This is living real dangerously here. Decided that I would give her all the credit because she's the one that came up with hats on birds that I saw. I'm sure there have been hats on birds by other people. Hey, Starla. But you know what? She's the first person that I happened to see that did them, so I'm going to give her all the credit. I'm sure there are lots of people that have done Santa hats on birds. Okay, let's put a wing in here. He's going to have some stripes on his wing because the brush fell apart, and surely did. Surely did. Okay. So let's put whatever this color is. For his wing. I don't know if it's a girl or a boy. If he's got a Santa hat on, he must be a boy bird, do you think? What were those paper cords Karen used to use? I'm sitting here lost in the Carol Duvall episodes from years ago now, thinking about what were those called? Any of you guys remember those cords? Okay, it's got a green wing. Let's give it just a little more something. So it can kind of dance around and add something else. I just saw that comment. That's funny. Okay, let's put a little more red, sort of red, purpley red in here. I don't know if this will work or not, but we're going to find out. Yeah, I have to admit that having stuff in different places is beginning to be difficult for Barb. Okay, let's do a branch on a tree, shall we? Let's do a branch on a tree. So again, I'm just using all these goofy little kids cheap watercolors. Part of my struggle with watercolor is I tend to like more intense paint and color than I end up getting. Oh, let's not get too close to those berries. And I realize that holly grows on a bush, not on a tree as such. But, you know, I just decided to do it this way because, you know what? That's the way Karen did it. That's the way Karen did it. And you know what? If it's good enough for Karen, it should be good enough for Barb, don't you think? Yeah. All right, let's see if we can manage to put in this little stem. And I have no idea what she did on these eyes. I have no idea. So, yeah. So what we're going to do on the eyes here, I'd probably be well advised just to use a paint pen. But not to be outdone, I'm going to paint it in black with a brush that's way too big. And then I will give him a white highlight in his eye and probably straighten up the shape of the eye after a bit. Artist license. Yep, artist license, man. Okay, let's I can come down here now and I am gonna have to switch to a tinier brush. And this was the one I was painting with acrylic, which also flies in the face of, oh, you're not supposed to do that. Go between watercolor and acrylic, but too bad, so sad, that's what Barb's gonna do. I'm just mixing up some greens here to get something that might work. And let's kind of base coat in some holly leaves. When your pages get bouncy like this, that's when it gets frustrating. You gotta kind of be the boss of your book and hold the paper so it doesn't bounce on you like that. and things will get will not be so fuzzy once I get the outlines around them, because that's what I'll do. But this is just kind of base coating stuff and just kind of giving me an idea of where I want this to go. Okay, so we kind of got some little holly leaves going on in there. These look like they're little, a little, I don't know, like they need a little bit more size. Yesterday, Chance he was having the time of his life yesterday. The birds and the squirrels were up in the tree and off the porch, and he all of a sudden saw him. He was sitting on the couch with me, and all of a sudden he saw the squirrel jump up on the bird feeder, and oh my goodness, he was enthralled. He's still doing well. He is fully moved to the other house, but he is quite happy to be where he is. He's a happy. All right, and let's see if we can put a little beak on him. I'm just going to put a little yellow beak on him. I don't know what color beaks are supposed to be, but we're going to put a yellow one on him. Seems like yellow would be a good color. Okay, so he's kind of got a little twig of holly in his beak, and I think that'll let this little bird kind of get a head start, and then I'll play around with him. Chance is having a great time. Muppet she's just kind of doing her own thing. She's not in the best of shape, but we're gonna put some, since I splattered some blue paint on here when the brush fell apart, we're gonna put some more blue, just speckles, and I'll turn those into some snowflakes later. And that'll just give me a kind of an idea of, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to do on that, right? All right, one other thing I want to do on this is I want to do a super, I don't know how lightly I can do this, but we're going to find out. I'm going to put some water in the fluff of his hat, in the pom-pom of his hat. And then I'm going to see what the lightest amount of blue I can come up with. Teensy, super light, eons of water, loads of water. Don't know if I can, I just want the tiniest little bit of blue. And if watercolor really does dry lighter, that's what I'm hoping it will do, is dry lighter. So I still have a little bit of that white fluff, but it won't be pure white. Okay. All right, let's give him a little bit of, and his eye, he's not going to look good until he gets a highlight in his eye, but you know, that's going to be a while. I think he's kind of cute, actually. He's kind of cute. I think I can like him. I think I can like him. It's funny how a lot of things when you're doing stuff like this, they just look atrocious, or, you know, more or less atrocious to me, until I get the black outlines or the shading or the whatever else going on it. And then all of a sudden I like them. Like this other bird that I did that was the cookie cutter bird. Literally drew around the cookie cutter over here somewhere. hiding. Oh, where is it? This one. I mean, I literally drew around a cookie cutter and then painted all that in watercolor, and it looked absolutely horrible until I started playing around with the pens and just, you know, dotting and outlining and all of that kind of stuff. And then I thought, well, I like it now. I like it now, you know. But, you know, when it was just in that fuzzy stage, it's like, ugh, terrible. And and this guy, same thing. You know, he just looked atrocious until I just got the pens and the, you know, added the other pen work and embellishments and stuff. Those are the kinds of things I like to do. Yeah, I like the little pink bird too. I do. And this looks much better. I like the holly berries better. They'll look better after they have a little more something done to them. What else shall we do? And I added the ground under the tree here so it had something to anchor it. Oh, here, the ornaments. These. Now, those look terrible because they're supposed to be round balls and they're not. So they're going to have some, you know, some work done on them to round them up and do some embellishment on them and get their caps on them and some strings, and they'll be okay once I get done with them. But for right now, they look pretty horrible. There you go. I admit it. Okay, so I'm not going to do anything. This little bird is he's damp enough that I don't want to do anything to him. And what was the other one? This one, the bells. Maybe we can at least put some outlines around the bells. We can do that. I think that'll work. Okay. And the only reason for using these binder clips is just to give the pages some weight, so they will so they don't flip up on me so much, you know, because they want to move around, and that irritates me beyond belief. Okay, let's find some. What kind of pen do I want to use? I may just go straight with a paint pen, because paint pen could use gel pen. What do I want to do? What do we think we should do, Barb? She asks herself. Yes. Okay. I'm digging in my bag of pens. All right. Let's just outline them to start with. Hey, Jan. Good to see you. Okay, so I'm going to have to angle the book a little bit, and if that annoys you, I'm sorry. It's the way it is. And I also need a piece of paper. So I've now taken my palette where I was doing acrylic paint, and I have turned it so now it's my scratch paper for my pen. All right, let's just start right here. Scribbly outlines, I find, are much better than trying to make them too smooth. And I probably will do that again. Because I find it much better to have a scribbly look than to have it have a like, oh, you missed look. Okay, let's do on this one, let's have the purple bell. Let's see, the purple bell I'm going to have in the background, but I'm going to have the bottom part of it come over the gold bell. All right, same thing. I'm going to go over it again, just so it's not too perfect. And then I'm going to sneak this one in behind. All right, and then let's do this one. Yeah, if you hold your pen back a little bit further, don't get down way too tight toward the nib. That helps to keep your hand looser, and it will help you achieve the scribbly look a little more easily in case you are too tight in your drawing, your loose outlines. Okay, so that gives us a place to begin, and I am much happier now that I've got the outlines. Okay? I like that, and so I'm going to hit that with a shot of heat just to make sure. They should be totally dry, but let's just make sure. And then I think we'll go back to the ornaments and outline those in a similar fashion. Now, if you don't like things that are kind of scribbly like this, and you want to do them a much more refined outline, you certainly can do that, you know. Okay, let's come back and do this. I'm just going to do the outline of the ornament itself, not the tops. All right, and one more. And if some of the watercolor is outside the ornament outline, that is okay with me. I do not have a problem with that. Okay, let's do, I have some gold watercolor. Let me go get it. I'll be right back. Okay? Gotta think where it is. I think it's in one of these palettes, which has better watercolor in it, mind you. Than what I'm using. Not that one. Hopefully it's the other one. Yes, this is the one. Let's use some of this. Let's see if we can get it to rehydrate. It is, I think it's a gold gouache, so we'll see whether it wants to hydrate for us. Cross your fingers and hope. Okay, it's this right here. It's even loose. All right, let's see if it wants to liquefy for us. Seems like I remember that it does. This is I believe it's a Winsor and Newton gold gouache. It was something that Joanne Sharp used in a lettering, I think it was a lettering class I took with her. I don't know, it's been a long time ago. But it is real pretty. It is right there, and it is a real pretty gold. Looks like it's going to rehydrate. Okay, that's good. Okay, let's... You can tell when I get into things that I'm a little less comfortable with because I get real quiet, huh? I don't know what kind of ornament topper this is. It's just one that I just sort of made up. let's be honest. They all fit that category of things I made up. All right, this is a little, kind of a little ball with a kind of a three-tiered something topper. So it's not going to look great until it gets outlined, but at least we'll get some color in here. There's a little wire loop at the top. And then I'm going to have to go from the other way to have a shot at getting this string in here. We'll see if I can keep my hand out of the other ones. Could be a gold string or it could be a wire. Again, I'm not making anything too perfect because if it's too perfect, it just makes it more difficult. This is supposed to be fun, okay? So there's the gold. I don't know if you're going to be able to see the depth of how sparkly that is. This one's real wet, so it looks darker. The one up here that's drying, I don't know if I can get it. You can't really catch the sparkle, but it's really a nice gold. I know there's a lot of golds out there on the market for a watercolor that are really beautiful. I know Janet Young uses one that I can't remember what it is, but it's beautiful. Anyway, it's a nice gold. Okay. So there's that. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read you this article. I'm going to let those just sit. I'm going to read you this article because it is it speaks to a lot of people from that have interesting or challenging times this time of year, and if it's too much for any of you, feel free to click off. It's fine. I thought it was a really well-written article. It was in a paper from a town not too far from here, a small town, and this author writes for them, and I thought I would share it with you. Kuretake Gold is what she uses. Yeah, I never have ordered that. Anyway, so the title of this, she's a regular columnist in this newspaper, and her name is Lorry, L-O-R-R-Y, Myers. It was published in the newspaper, so I'm assuming it's okay to read it to you, because it was published in a public newspaper. So I'm going to read it to you. So it's Lorry, and her last name is Myers, M-Y-E-R-S, and it's called Story Time. I don't know if that's the column she writes, but the name of the column, this particular story time, is December. 7 years this December, I was making a list and checking it twice, and the list had nothing to do with naughty and nice. That year, I was packing for my youngest daughter's wedding and worrying about the weather. Family and friends were traveling from everywhere. Rooms were reserved and the caterer coming, and funds were non-refundable. Love was in the air. After the honeymoon, Mariah's new husband, Tanner, was treated for sinus infections, ear infections, and tonsil infections. Finally, Tanner had his adenoids removed, thinking that simple surgery would be the answer to his never-ending head cold. It was not the answer they expected. Tanner was diagnosed with an advanced stage of nasopharynx cancer. In other words, there was a tumor interwoven throughout his soft palate from the base of his spine up to the edge of his brain. The tumor had encroached into his ears and had already invaded his lymph nodes. The treatment plan was not what this young couple had planned for. Then, a few more Decembers later, my husband died unexpectedly, and among the holiday decorations and blinking lights, my family is still learning to embrace the season despite the empty chair. December didn't stop there. My oldest daughter's husband, Greg, was born in December and proposed to Hillary at one of our Christmas parties. His marriage proposal included the whole family and remains a night we will forever talk about. December wasn't done with us yet. Last December, Greg had a misdiagnosed cold that turned into pneumonia and then finally showed itself for what it truly is, cancer. Now, this December, another young couple is fighting another cancer battle, something I thought my family was done with. Greg and Hillary now spend their days in the cancer center and their nights trying to bring normalcy to their young son. They wait for good news to come while the medical bills don't wait at all. Their conversations are different than they might have been if December had stayed away. Greg and Hillary are not debating the past election or fussing about a shoe pile by the front door. They are measuring their time, guarding their child, and trying to live their best life. December does not always bring peace. I ask that you remember how fragile life can be and fill your December with the gift of understanding, because you never know the burden that others carry. Walk someone else's path and put yourself in their shoes. Open your heart to the heartache of others and leave your judgments and opinions behind. No one has time for that. At the end of the day, it's not how loud you talk or how much you post and share. It's not the things you have accumulated or the accolades you have garnered that makes a life matter. It's the people you surround yourself with. Loved ones who help make your world merry and bright every month of the year. This December, I pray and prepare for the days ahead and strive to be better because of the days that are past. Instead of blaming December and ignoring my faith, I will focus on celebrating the Christmas season with my grandchildren, soaking up their wonder and joy. I will marvel at the miracle of Mariah and Tanner and take in the steadfast, tender, steadfast devotion of Hillary and Greg and know that they are loved. Every day, I will remember the powerful prayers of support and acts of genuine kindness that help my family get through each and every day, not just the days of December. Have patience and give yourself and others a break this December. In reality, there is no need to hurry. These frenzied days will be over soon enough. Put down your phone, linger, and savor those who grace your table and hold close the ones who matter. These are the days. You can't get back. Good, huh? Yeah. Good. So, I just wanted to share that with you. Yeah. Food for thought. Food for thought. December can be really rough for a lot of people. I ran into someone just this week who I've known for years, and I asked about, I don't think he was ever married to his partner, but they had been together for many, many years. And I asked how she was doing, and she died last January, and I didn't know that. And so that led us to have a discussion for quite a while, and gave me a chance to just support him and encourage him to find things find ways to move beyond and to move into a space of hope and joy and peace, that in spite of tragedy and in spite of such unimaginable things that happen to your life and in your world, that you can still find and you can still move forward. So it was a very special and unique few minutes that I got to spend with him, and when I left, he had a brighter smile, and seemed like he had a little more life in his eyes. And so, if you go through stuff and you can help somebody else, that's really what it's about. None of us are free from the trials and challenges in life. None of us get away from that. It always visits us somehow. And some of us, it visits a lot more than others. But you know what? We can always sink under the weight of those things, or we can rise above them. And so I challenge you in this month, in this time, if you're having a rough time, to rise above it and to find a way to reach out to some other people and help them also. So there you go. That is my message to you. And I pray that you will have a really good holiday season in whatever way you choose to spend it. And I will be back sometime in January. I will check in with you in January. Regular schedules for me probably won't settle down until sometime in February. But between now and then, do something kind for other people. Be happy as best you can. And enjoy the moments that you've been blessed to live right here, right now, because it's the one we have. I'm in the same boat as you guys are. I will now bid you adieu for 2024. I will see you sometime early in 2025. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you again soon. Until then, as always, remember to get creative today, because you know it's easy. And I will see you before you know it. Bye for now.